Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. We've had many requests to have a bit of a recap on some of the things that we've featured over the last few months. So I thought what we'd do, we'll have a quick little walk around the room and we'll see what's what and explain a little bit about what's going on and some of the successes and some of the failures. It's been a very funny year this year. It's been quite a poor year in terms of egg sacs, and we don't really understand why. We're not sure because we've not changed anything from how we've done things in the past, but we have lost an awful lot of egg sacs. So and these have been egg sacs that our females have eaten. Now as I said, we're really not sure as to why that is happening. Some of the spiders that have done it, things like our Cambridgei, these are real easy spiders to reproduce. They're really easy to breed, and yet she has eaten 2 egg sacs this year. Now, which is very odd. We had Naminia do the same. She ate her egg sac. And a number of others. So it's been a rather poor year in that respect, but we have had some good successes as well. Now then, so I think what we'll do is we'll have a little wander around, and we'll come over and have a look and see what's what, see who's out and about, and see what we can do. So we'll take our paintbrush. Right, if you'd like to come over here, we've you can see some of the tanks here. If you look down on the bottom here, this has got our P. formosa in, which is the Salem Ornamental. Now, although she's got all this hiding space around here, she's chose to go behind the bark, which is quite unusual because this particular tank hasn't got a backing board on it, so it's open at the back, but she prefers to hide behind there, even though she's open to the rest of the world behind the wall. So that's rather interesting. Now also you'll see in here the plants doing really well in here. Now one thing we do get with the plants, on some enclosures the plants do very well, and other enclosures the plants are quite poor. They grow weakly or whatever. And we do it all pretty much the same. So it's very interesting how the plants differ from one thing to another. Now we've got our starburst baboon up here, the maculata. She's hidden in the back at the moment, but she's looking really fat, so she's hoping that she's going to drop. And then above her here, we've got one up here that's actually busy redecorating. This is our P. Miranda, the Bengal spotted ornamental. Now for the last hour or so, she's been going down into the bottom here, picking up pieces of moss and stuff and taking it back up into the top. So she's completely redecorating her room. Now she's only been back in this enclosure for around about 2 weeks or so now. So she has been paired. So maybe she's getting ready to sort out her dirt curtain, as we say, and she's looking for bits and pieces to start blocking up the back of that piece of cork bark that we see in the back of the tank. Now this tank has got a backboard on it, so she will only be looking at clearing up the sides and things like that, and maybe a bit on the top. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now next door to her, up the top again, this is one of our P. Mirandas, P. Metallicas, sorry. Now can we see that? Yeah. What we can do is see if she'll stay put. These can be quite steady in some respects, but no, she's not going to. Look at that, she's gone away.
Oh, Dave.
She's gone. Now it's an interesting thing there that we see her out, as many people say about these guys being very light sensitive. We find quite often our females will actually sit outside in the daytime. We've got lights on all of these because of the plants. So it's not necessarily true that they are that light sensitive. They're often out. Now one thing you sharp-eyed guys will notice, if you look in the tops of these tanks here, you'll see that they've got perspex tops. So that's this one, this one, this one, and this one. That's 4 of them there. They got perspex tops. Now you guys will know that I am not a lover of perspex tops. I don't like them in the slightest. I'm not keen on them at all. Now, the reason we put the perspex on these ones is because these are all our Metallicas that have been paired already, and we're trying to up the humidity within these enclosures. Now, last year we did breed them with the mesh enclosures, but only 1 out of 6 dropped an egg sac. So we've sort of been told by a few others that are doing reasonably well with them that they like a very, very high humidity in order to get them to drop a sac. So we're trying that, and we're going to see how we get on. I mean, most of these were paired. This one was paired, what, 3 months ago? And they've all been paired around about similar sort of time. So we're hoping that they're going to start to drop very, very soon. Now, here we go. If you come down here, these are our Romanians. Now, both of these females here, you see the one in the back there, she's our old girl. In actual fact, this one is the mother to this one here. And so both of these have produced this year. So we've had viable egg sacs and youngsters off of both of them. And again, we often see many people saying, oh, they're Romanians, they never see them. Well, look at these girls. They're sitting out all the time. They sit out in the daytime. I don't know. Should we try our luck again and see if we can open the door? We will give it a go. See if she'll sit there. This is the younger one of the two. Now, look at that. She's hungry, you see. She's ready for food. She came down for food. The slightest little movement there, and she came down for food. And also, the little bit of vibration that we got from this one has set this one off. You see how she's ducked down behind her thing as well. But again, it's an interesting thing to see these spiders are out. This is midday. We're making this video. It's about 12 o'clock at the moment on a Sunday morning. And these guys, they're out. Many of you complain that your spiders, you never see them. They're never out and about. And this is one of the things that we're trying to show you guys. A lot of these spiders, if you care for them in the right way, you will see more of them. And this we do with the food, how we feed them and the regime that we keep. We've got a really messy enclosure down here. This is our Singapore blue, and she is in fact sitting down in the bottom there. Now we're going to rehouse this girl because it's a horrible enclosure. It looks really messy.
See if I can get her and then I'll show you.
Yeah, you can just about see her down there. Now whenever we put plants in with this girl, she absolutely destroys them. She just chews them up. Literally chews them up. So yeah, it's a horrid looking enclosure. So we're going to rip it out and we're going to set her up in a nice new one. These girls, these are all gravid down here. So we're hoping that they're tucked away, that they're going to start dropping sacs. This is our Sabar blue in here. Now this is one spider that we see 50% of the time, and 50% of the rest of the time she's actually tucked away. So you can see the ivy's doing really well in that. Ivy is a very good plant to utilize within your enclosure because it's quite a sturdy plant, and the spiders don't seem to do too much damage with it either. Now here's another one. Here we go. Look, this is our female Hattie, or one of them. Again, middle of the day, and she's out and about. Just about make her out. I guess it's actually quite dark. I wonder if I've got my torch. We can see her. There she is. You can see even by putting the light on her, it's not particularly bothering her. She's not moved. She's not doing anything. Again, this is one of them spiders that's often renowned for being hidden away. People complaining that they never see them. And there she is, sitting out in broad daylight, happy as Larry. Now then, if we come out and down the top here, here's one of our versicolors. Now these guys often sit out on display like this, and what you're seeing now is she's sitting basically in her what we would class as a hunting pose. Now believe it or not, she was actually fed yesterday, and they're very they've got really good appetites. But as you can see, she's out and about. She's sitting there lovely. We could try and feed her while we're here. We'll give her a go. Let me just grab a roach. She might disappear. We might be lucky and she might just stay there. They're quite a steady spider, the versicolor. There you go, look at that, she's not even flinched. You can get a real good look at that colour now. She is a beautiful spider. Now this is a full-grown adult female. These have produced for us in the past. And they did in fact produce this year. Are we ready? So what we're going to do, we've got our roach and we're holding the roach on the very end of its abdomen. So the spider gets more of the roach rather than the tweezers. So what we're going to do is we're just going to offer it up in the bottom here now. Can we see this? Nice and close. As soon as that touches her toes. You ready? There you go. Just like that. Now you'll see there that she was nowhere near the end of the tweezers, and this is because of the way we hold them. So if you imagine now, she's been sat outside waiting for something to pass, and that event has just happened. So literally the roach has just passed, she's grabbed it, it's now time to retire back behind her bark where she will consume her meal and enjoy it. And there you go. So, and this one here, if you look here, this is the bolus from yesterday. That little thing there. So bearing in mind, she's gone behind her cork bark, she's eaten her meal, and then she's brought the remains out and dumped it at the front of the glass. And all of the spiders do the same. They all throw their boluses out at the front of the glass. So when we talk about spot cleaning, we literally, all we need to do is we can go through these after we've fed and we can pick up our bolus, which is there. We just pick up our bolus and we clean them up, and then that is it. That's spot cleaning. So we can do the same with this one. She's finished her meal as well. We just pick them up. You see, it's really as easy as that. It takes no time at all. They're all so well trained that they put their boluses out at the front for us. And that's what we do. Now if we move over here, you'll see these are our avics. Again, people are often surprised with the sheer size of these guys. They're big spiders. They really are big spiders. And one of the things you'll notice with the different avics is the different way in which they construct their webs. So the one next door on the left, exactly the same spider, but look at the difference in the way she's created her home in comparison to the one on the right. The one on the right's done very, very little in the way of webbing. The one on the left is quite the opposite. Quite difficult to see them. Now this one here, this is the one that we've recently done. This is the Goliath Pinto, and she's not entirely sorted of where she wants to set up home. So she's only been in there maybe a week, and she spends her whole time sat on that piece of glass just as she is now. Apart from when she's like starting to get hungry when she moves over to the log, and then she'll sit there and wait for food. Now we hear many of you guys contact us worried that their spiders are acting abnormally, just like that female there. So she will literally just sit out and she's not doing anything. So there's no need to worry. You know, in time she will eventually move back behind that piece of cork, and then she will set up home and she'll sort herself out. And sometimes it just takes a couple of weeks for this to happen. Now, in terms of them setting up home, we can have a look at some of these. Now, if I come over here, we've had a number of spiders come into the Beastie Room of late, and space is getting really tight. It really is. As you can see here, we've had a bunch of enclosures turn up. We've got new spiders that have come in. Some of these will be going out again. Some will be staying within the Beastie Room. It all depends on what we're going to do, whether we're going to breed them or keep them for ourselves. And some that we've already got doubles of and things like that, we will then sell on. They will be going on. The big boxes in the back here, these have got sturmies and apophysis in them. These are sturmies here. These are sturmy males. They're actually available. They will be going out. We've got 4 sturmy males at the moment. So they can in turn go out. We've got some other subadult males, male gigas there, Histocrates gigas. We've got a male sapphire pinto there, which we will in fact be pairing him today. Our female is really, really big now. She's looking absolutely gorgeous. So we're hoping to get some good footage of a pairing video for those. We've got others. We've got our skeleton leg down there, the Murinus. He's going to go back in again today. We've also got the king baboon in here. Now this is one that we've not actually showcased on the channel before. We have actually got 2 of them now. We've had one that I've had from a sling, which is now around about this big, and that is due a rehouse. That needs to come out. It's in a small pot at the moment, but that needs to come out. So we're going to do a video on that one just on its own, and we're going to dig this one out and put that into another tank, purely because that tank doesn't fit in to what I'm doing. So we will rehouse that one and get a good look at it as well, because we've yet to actually see this one. We know it's in there, we just don't know what it looks like. So it'll be a good opportunity for us to give it a nice health check, sort it out, work out if there's any problems, and then we can rehouse it ready for the future. And this is what it's all about, getting our things ready for the future so that we don't have to rehouse them again. We don't want to be doing it all the time. Now, if it's possible, very difficult, very, very difficult. I'm getting myself in a corner here, guys. Now, these 2 tanks here, these are a really real good example of about spiders not necessarily doing what you would expect them to do. Now, these are both electric blues, and we have another one down there which is entirely different again. So we've got, these were rehoused at the same time. This one at the top, if you pan in on that, you can get to see the enclosure. It might have been better to stay back there and stay back and focus in. Yeah. So this one up the top here, you can see that there's a log here which we put in to give her somewhere to hide. Well, she actually dug down the side of it, and you can see there's an entrance to her tunnel there, and she's underneath there. Now, we've done exactly the same setup in this one for this female, but you can see she's disregarded this bank. Now, this is an interesting thing in itself. We often get told about fossorial spiders needing massive amounts of depth. Now, we've seen here, this spider has got maybe 6-7 inches of soil at the back, with the bark sticking out. So she could have gone in the back of all that soil, but she's refused it. She's left it. And she's set up home in the front on about 1/2 inch of soil. Now, these are pretty much a fossorial spider. They spend a lot of their time underground. But look at what she's done. She's built this web here, and there's a tunnel here, and there's another tunnel here. And she comes out either end, and she hunts everywhere. She's all over the place. But it's very, very interesting that even given the opportunity to have access to all of that depth of soil, she still chose not to bother. Now, this is something that we've tried to show on the channel many times with our fossorial spiders. You do not need bucket loads of soil to keep these guys happy. Now we've paired all of these, so hopefully we're going to end up, we'll get some egg sacs off of them. Now this is another one in here. This is the Ephebopus murinus, or the skeleton leg. We've paired this girl once already, but she is due to be paired again. We always try and pair our females twice. And this just gives us a little bit more chance, if you like, that it's successful. But you can see she's done a wonderful tunnel there. Now if you zoom in on the front of that tunnel, you should be able to see a very fine layer of webbing sealing it off. Yeah? These are the things that you want to look for when you're checking your spiders. We often get told, my spider's sealed itself in. Is it in pre-molt? Is it gonna molt? If it's just webbed like that, no, that's a daytime curtain. She has literally just webbed that up because she's nocturnal. So she's webbed that up and she's gone in. That gives her just a little bit of security that if a predator was to come along and start sniffing around, she would get a sign of that happening. She would feel it on the vibrations of the web. If it's covered over thickly, then that is when you're looking at a molt. So there's different types of webbing for different purposes, and they make them in different ways depending on what they want to do. So it's really interesting. Now we can look down in here, and this is what we done out for our mossy frogs. Now we have since taken the mossy frogs out, but we have got loads of tadpoles in the bottom. Now we can see if we can let's see if we can't have a little look, because these are really quite something else. So we're going to take the glass out, make it nice and easy. Now look at the size of that beast there. Look at him. And then there's small ones. These are baby ones here. Look at him. What a monster. Now there's many of them in here. There's lots and lots. Another one right there. There's lots of them. Now one of the things that we found that when rearing these tadpoles, we can see down the front here now, look. When we're rearing these tadpoles, we found that they really are quite plant-based in their food. So they're eating a lot of plant, which is really quite incredible. Another big one there. And we also crush crickets and roaches, and we throw them in there, and they'll munch on them as well. They'll eat them as well. So we're giving them a real variety of food. We've since moved our main frogs into a bigger enclosure, much bigger than this one, and they're breeding in there as well. So they're doing really well. We're really pleased with them. Now then, these back onto the spiders. You would have remembered when we done our videos, this is our female phalanx in here, and you can see what she's done. If you remember back when we done the video, and it was literally just a pile of twigs, and you can see how she's webbed it up. And we've done this one as well. This is our harmonicon, and you can see exactly the same thing, but she's not webbed it as bad as the phalanx. The phalanx has done a different job. But we've got others of these harmonicon which have done an entirely different thing. So we're going to have a look at one of them. These are up on the top shelf. So I'll bring that down. Oh, there she goes. She's back in. That there is a harmonicon. Can we see that? And look at the extensive webbing there.
Tip it forward so it's a bit forward.
Look at the extensive webbing. Absolutely huge. And we can see that hole there, which is literally the entrance to her home. Massive webbing. Really cool. So you can see there we've got one here that's done very little, one here that's done a huge amount. Now we've got another one up here. These were put into these cubes on the same day. And they've been up there now for some months. And there's the other one. So you can see the difference between one individual to another. So what we're getting at here is that although you have a spider, when we've got spiders where we've got, you know, a number of exactly the same species, what we're showing you here is they don't all behave the same. So sometimes you may think to yourself that you're doing something wrong because the care sheets or the video you saw on YouTube showed a spider that had huge webbing all over the place, and then you get your spider and don't do any webbing at all. There's nothing wrong with your spider probably. It's just that that individual, for whatever reasons, isn't doing that particular thing. So don't always beat yourself up thinking that you're doing something wrong. It's not necessarily the fact. Now, if we go down here, we can have a look at our Balfouri Communal now. Now these, you can see all the molts, loads and loads of molts. These are growing really, really well now. And you can see how they've webbed up all the back. They've got all their little tunnels everywhere. Very, very cool spiders. Now these are getting on to a point now where it won't be long and they will in fact start breeding. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see whether we have any success inside the communal. Because we've found in the past that they quite often breed better when they're singles. But we're going to leave these guys to just do their thing and we'll see what happens. It could go either way. Now then, what else we got? This is one that we get asked about often. This
special one.
This is, yeah, she is special. We did actually think she's broken because, as we were saying only a moment ago about spiders that generally are known as being really, really heavy webbers, this girl has been in this enclosure now for how long? Yeah, must be 4 months, maybe longer. Maybe longer. Now, if we pan back and you see the whole enclosure, it's only been in the last maybe 3 weeks or so that she has done all of this webbing. Now you'll see that we're keeping her on soil and we've got plastic plant in there. This is fake plant because most plants don't do too well if you absolutely cover them with web. It suffocates them. So you'll also see we have quite a large water bowl. Now, despite what all the care sheets say about these guys liking it really, really dry, we have found that they do in fact enjoy a certain amount of humidity. Now, in this room at the moment, we're looking at about 60% humidity in the open room. Within these enclosures, some of them will be slightly higher, some will be slightly lower, but they won't really get much lower than the 60% that's in the room. So what we have found is we have made this enclosure slightly damper over the last month, and this seems to have promoted all of this webbing. Now, she's recently molted as well. She molted on the 4th of the 7th, so that was what, about a month ago. So she's going to be ready to be paired up very, very soon, and we have got a couple of males waiting ready to go. So we're going to see what happens. Now then, on to our next tank. This is a rather bit of a sad thing now. This is the tank that we had our adult female funnel web in, and unfortunately she passed yesterday, so we no longer have her. Now, rather annoyingly, we had paired her, and she did look like it was all going really, really well, and she started to increase in size. She was getting bigger and what have you. I started putting in a couple of extra roaches, and we were feeding her female red runners because they're quite a decent sized meal for her. Now, found her yesterday morning sitting out on the front here, and she had in fact started to molt, which was something that comes as a bit of a thing. I wasn't really expecting it, but she started to molt. Now, as she was doing that, I think she actually died in the process, but then we found there was a female roach having a little nibble on her abdomen, which opened up her abdomen. Now, I'm pretty sure she was dead before this point, because it looked very fresh and she looked like she died in the night. So be aware that when you have food in your enclosures, now don't get me wrong, quite a lot of these enclosures here will have the odd roach running around in them, but most of the time when our spiders, especially our adults, when they go into molt, they seal themselves in, which basically means a roach can't get in there, so they're quite safe. It's when you have spiders that molt out on a mat or on a bed, that's when you can get problems. So try and not have food in with spiders that do that kind of thing. Things like our Nando chromatus, she will just lay a web blanket on the floor, lay on the floor, and then molt out. They're the ones that are quite often under a little bit of threat through your food having a nibble on them, because they are totally defenseless when they're molting. So unfortunately we've lost our female funnel web, which is annoying because she's been with us now for nearly 5 years. She was sub-adult when we got her, so she was in her prime, I would have thought. Really don't know why we've lost her. It's a bit of a confusing one. So that's put back our funnel web project just a little bit, because all of our juveniles that we have up on the shelf, they are just that, they're juveniles. So we're going to have to grow them on. So probably the next chance we're going to have to pair and do anything with these guys is going to be middle of next year. So it's really knocked us back, which is a shame, absolute shame. Now, you remember when we looked at our electric blues, back along the shelf here a bit, this is the third electric blue. Look at the difference in that. That is entirely different. That is entirely different. You notice the lack of webbing. There's very, very little webbing compared to the other two. This one has in fact made use of the mound. There is an opening at the back of the mound, and there's an opening right at the front here. You'll see here at the front, this is what we're saying. This is what we call a day curtain, where she literally just blocks this up with a little bit of stuff just to seal herself in, so she can go in, have a nice sleep for the day without worrying about anybody coming along and eating her. So we've got many, many things. There's the top shelf up here. There's all sorts of bits and pieces going on the top shelf. What we can do, we can have a little look at these. I know you guys will like these, and you'll see the difference in the sizes that we've got on these compared to when we first got them. Now we've got this little fella here. This is an interesting thing. We'll take the lid off. These are our emperor scorpions. There you go. Now you'll notice with this one, it's lost a claw. Now she lost that claw in a molt. So she had a bad molt and lost the claw. Now what we're hoping for now is that when she comes around to her next molt, that we should regenerate that claw. It probably will always be slightly smaller than the original one, but hopefully it will still be good. Now you can see there by the sides, her sides, she's still getting food. When she originally lost it, I would pre-kill food and give her pre-killed food and just let her scavenge for it. She's now catching live food and doing really well. As you can see, she's got plenty of weight on her. Now, bearing in mind, these guys, there wasn't a huge amount of difference in size between them when we got them. That one always was the smaller one. But look at the difference now. Look at this one. Look at how big that is in comparison. and doing really, really well. They're very, very active. Again, these are one of them things that many say they are purely nocturnal. Our guys are often on the move, hunting around, doing all different sorts of things. What a fabulous looking thing that is. Now we have 3 of them, so hopefully, all being well, we will get a chance to breed these in the future. Aren't they marvellous? Oh, look at that. Out in a flash. That's really not the idea. Really not the idea. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to try and get it to come back on. There we go. And as you can see, they're quite gentle things, really. There we go. That's our emperor scorpions. Now, one of the things I can hear you all saying is we got a scorpion this size. Surely it should be in a bigger box. And this is one of the things that we often get asked. Now, when you're choosing what to house your beastie in, you need to have in mind what you want to achieve. So what I'm suggesting is don't look at your spider. There's so much literature that says your spider, your scorpion should have 3, 4, 5 times its length in ground space to make it an adequate home. That is absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. What we're trying to achieve here is when they're small and they're young, we put them into smaller enclosures. The reason we do that is because we don't want them burning up energy. We want them to maintain their energy. We can feed them in a small space. They're not having to run around looking for it. They can catch their food nice and easy. And then all that goodness that they're getting from their food will go into developing. And it will develop a really strong, healthy spider or a scorpion or a centipede, whatever it might be. Now, as they get bigger, we will get one more molt out of these big ones, and then they will get upgraded to their next home. So we can look at giving them slightly bigger space, but again, we're still not going into big space. Once we get to adult size and we're looking at breeding, then we can move them into something that's a little bit more substantial, and we're giving them the room to have that courtship and to get on and to breed properly. So you're looking at housing depending on what you want to achieve from the inhabitant. It's not all about, if you put a small scorpion like this in a big enclosure, the chances are you're going to lose it. So you can't maintain the environment correctly for it. So it's very, very important that we step away from a lot of what is said and we actually use the information that we have to make the right moves, to put our spiders and our scorpions in the right size enclosures. Right, what else we got? I know, we can have a look here. This is, these are our bins. We've gone over to these bins now for our Theraphosa. Now, in this one here, this is our adult female Theraphosa blondie. There she is. You can see there, she is a beautiful, beautiful spider. Now, she molted out about 3 months ago. So she is ready to pair. And her boyfriend is here. He is down here. And he's just been brought into the room. There you go. Look at him, isn't he stunning? Absolutely gorgeous. Now we need to add a little bit more ventilation to this box, because this is one of the things. In a large box, the ventilation is quite easy to control. In a small box,
it's the opposite. It's quite difficult. So we need to add more ventilation into this. With this species, it's not such a bad thing, but it's still not the best thing. So we need to add more to give him a little bit more fresher air, if you like. So that's him. So he will be going in with this lady today. They were fed yesterday, both of them. So they've both been very, very clean. Now, for an interesting point, if we concentrate on her abdomen, we can see, look at the size of her abdomen. So if we go from the back, you can see that dome there in the front. See the dome? Let me come around here. If we look at the dome there, you can see how it steps up. And the abdomen is almost the same size as her carapace. So she's got good weight, but she's not overweight. And she's ready. Now, if we look at the spider underneath her, so we'll put the lid on this one. So she's ready for pairing. The one that we have underneath has already been paired. Now this is a female sturmy, adult female sturmy. There she is. Now look at the difference in the abdomen. You notice how it's very elongated. It's also wider than her carapace. She's getting some real serious bulk on there, and we are literally just waiting for her to drop a sack. Now we did have a sack from another female that we have, which you would have remembered the video. We took 194 eggs out of that sack, and they were all infertile. So none of them were any good, which is a real shame. Beautiful spiders, absolutely beautiful spiders. Right. So we're waiting on this one to drop. Hopefully within the next few months we'll have some good news. The female blondie that we showed you just there, she actually dropped a sack earlier in the year, and unfortunately her sack she ate within around about 45 days. So she ate her sack as well. So she was one of the failures that we had, and it seemed to start a trend in the room, and we lost quite a few egg sacs this year due to our females actually eating them, which is really, really sad. It's really, really bad.
Did we consider it was the frogs and the added humidity?
Yes, that's an interesting point, camera lady. One of the things that we did consider, which camera lady picked up on actually, was we introduced the frogs into the room, and at that point we started losing some of the sacs. And one of the things that she brought up was it the increased humidity within the room? Had that caused the problems? Which is an interesting thing, because we're not sure, but it's a possibility, because it was the one thing that had changed in the room that we hadn't had before. So it is a possibility. Now you'll see we've still got the tank in there. So really the question is now, once we've reared those tadpoles, we can then move that tank out, and then we will see what happens. We will disband that tank. We have still got our mossy frogs, but they're in Beastie Room number 2. So we have expanded a little bit. So it's a bit cooler in there, so we keep a lot of stuff back there. So it will be interesting to see going forward, once them tadpoles are finished and we're done with them, then we can work out and see, maybe that was the thing. Maybe that's what caused the problems. Right, here's one that we're often getting asked about, And these are these are cool actually. You'll see the size of these, how these have grown. These are, you would have remembered when we done the very first Sturmy eggs that we had off our good friend Stephen Bass.
Chubby babies.
Chubby babies, yeah. You would have remembered that he had to go away, and he took his egg sac away from his female a little bit too early, and they weren't developed at all. They were literally just round eggs. We didn't even know if they were any good, and we put them in our incubator, and with a little bit of love and attention, we managed to get out of, I think there was 130 odd eggs. We ended up with 36, I think, or 34 that were viable, that were actually fertile, and we managed to rear all of those. We didn't lose any. And this is one of those babies, and they have come on heaps and bounds. There you go. Look, she's made an awful mess in her water bowl. And you can see the difference in size. This is a regular milk bottle top, so you can see how the difference in size they go. Now these guys are actually just to the point now where we will get one more molt and then we will rehouse them. Remember, we were saying about sizes of enclosures. We want this girl to grow to her maximum with the least amount of effort. So once we get to that next molt, they will then go up to a 20 by 20 by 20 cube, which is the same size as these ones behind me. And if you look in there, you can focus in. So there you can focus in, and you'll see this is a male apophysis here. And he isn't much smaller than my hand.
All we can see is a reflection of your belly.
Belly removed?
Yeah.
So yeah, when he's spread out, he's around about the size of my hand. But you can see in that enclosure, it's plenty big enough for him, for what he needs to do. We just want him to grow. That's all he's got to do. Just grow at a nice, steady, strong pace. So as you can see there, there's different things. So like with these guys, we were lucky enough, Stephen gave us 3 of these, and we've kept them all. And so far we've got 2 females and 1 male. So that's really good. That means we've got a male coming up for future breeding for our breeding projects. Yes, I got tongue tied then. And we have actually, over this last year, we've built up our Theraphosa group. So we now have, I think we have 9 females now, varying from this size right away through to adults. So we've now got 2, 3 adult females, a few sub-adult females, and then we've got some young females like these juvie females. So there's lots and lots of exciting things to do. We're also doing the same with the apophysis as well. We've now got 5 apophysis now, and I think we've got 3 blondies. So these are a spider that's going to be a really interesting one to try and do and to breed. And basically because they're not bred consistently, so it's something we'd like to try and change. And hopefully we can get to grips with them. Now all of these spiders up here, many of these are what we've bred ourselves. These are all Aminia, Regalis. There's also a Celadonia here. We've got all sorts of bits and pieces that we've bred ourselves. Esendamis, Krakens. And then we've got a mixture of other bits and pieces that we've had come in over the time. And it is literally just a real mixture. These are our Sabar Blues. And if you can focus in from there, you might just be able to zoom in, because if I touch this, she will disappear. This is a female Sabar Blue here. Now, one of the things that we often get asked, when we sell our juvie spiders, once they get up to this sort of size, we can quite often sex them relatively easy. The big problem we have is actually getting the molts in a condition where it's able to sex them. So when we put them up for sale with our juvies, if we state that they are sexed, then they will be sexed. if it's just sold as a juvie, it's because we haven't managed to get hold of a molt that's good enough for us to actually tell what it is, and they will be priced accordingly. Obviously a sexed female will fetch a slightly higher price. If you're seeing a juvie there and it's cheap, it's because we don't know what the sex is, and it's only fair to pass it on as a cheaper spider, because it may turn out to be a male, we just don't know. So we normally try and hold back until we can get a molt. Here's something that's really, really pretty. Now, this is something that really takes my eye. Come and have a look at this. How about that? Now, this is a dragon head centipede. They don't get a great deal bigger than what you're seeing now, but they are super, super pretty. Here she comes. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? The front part of that body. We don't want you coming out. You've got to behave yourself now. They like to try their luck. Isn't that just wonderful? Let me get a bit of extra light. I'm going to have to light her up even more. There you go. Look at the yellow on them front legs. And the blue with that red head. Absolutely beautiful. Very, very pretty. We do like our centipedes. Oh, here she comes. All right, put the lid back on before we lose her. And as you can see there, we centipedes have an absolutely terrible reputation for being awesome things, but generally speaking, they're not that bad. Once you get used to handling them and you know what you're doing. This one in here, this is a very quick one, but this is in actual fact a blue centipede, but because it's only a youngster, it's not really showing the blue yet. Here it comes. Now, this is one that was bred by our friend Stephen Bass. It's one of his plings, and it's grown really, really well. Again, you can see it's only in a very small pot. This is all it needs to be to grow a healthy, fit centipede. Right. Well, I don't think we've really got time to go through all of these. There's too much here, far too much. But we will visit some of these another day. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We've been through and we've had a little look. Here, look at that. When we sound about our Metallicas, she's come straight back out again. This is where she will spend the day. You see that? She's come back out, she's having a look around. This is the one time that we would have been happy for our Metallica to be tucked away in bed, because then that might suggest that she was getting ready to lay her egg sac. But while she's out sunbathing like this, she's not thinking of laying an egg sac. You notice as you go along, there's another one out, another Metallica there.
It's like my oh, there you go. Sorry.
You think after all these years, camera lady would be out to know which is a Metallica, wouldn't you?
I know.
Right.
I couldn't get it in.
There she is. Look at the size of her abdomen. Lovely, big, full abdomen. These guys are so close to dropping, I'm sure. But all we can do is wait and see. But you can see, these are coming out in the daytime. She wasn't out when we started the video. She's out now. And it puts pay to many of them, many of those different things that are said about these particular spiders. People saying that they're really frightened of the light and things like that. We're showing that it's not necessarily the way. Right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And that is one request dealt with, I think. I've really enjoyed that. Right then, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spiders. And I will see you soon, guys.